Hello everyone and welcome back to the 500 horsepower tournament. I don't have anything else to say, so let's get into it. So, for the second part of round 5, we're gonna be racing at the other 3 oval circuits in this game. And yeah, I don't see any last minute changes I can do to the rules of this round, so let's just get on with it, shall we? For the 4th race, we are back on the Canadian NASCAR. So, for the first heat of the said race, we have me, FancyWreck, Jakubek, Halo, and W12. Starting off, it looks like W12 and Halo get a great start off the line, as they manage to overtake FancyWreck and Jakubek no problem. However, they're still yet to take the top 2 as I'm in the way. On this sharp turn, the Hatsune Miku Porsche tries to overtake my 996 and succeeds in doing so. And so does W12 as I slide on the turn, with Jakubek catching up to me but unfortunately not being able to overtake me. As he builds up enough speed, W12 tries to catch up to Halo, but it doesn't look like he is succeeding at the moment. It also seems to me that my 996 is slowly catching up to the Audi TT, or at least trying to anyway. As you can see, I managed to catch up to him right after the Blue Moon Drift corner somehow, with the 996 overtaking it and claiming the second place for itself, and now also trying to pull away, while Jakubek was close to overtaking the TT, but nope, he's still in 4th place. Going onto the straight, it looks like Jakubek is sliding a lot, which gives the Beeble Bus a chance to catch back up to it, and FancyWreck gladly takes that opportunity. As you can see, he reaches overtaking distance heading into the second lap, but unfortunately doesn't overtake yet due to the Beetle's superior acceleration. He tries overtaking Jakubek again on the braking zone and succeeds this time, taking 4th while Jakubek is now in last place. Further in the front, it looks like I am currently battling W12. But given the Audi TT has much more superior acceleration, it manages to overtake me on this speed section. And while all of that is happening, Halo is just chilling in 1st place as he was able to build a decent lead over us. Either way, I catch back up to the TT on the drift corner, and I managed to overtake it back once again. But despite that, W12 refuses to give up at trying to take the 2nd place, making sure that his car does not lose time on this corner. And now that we are on the straight, the 996 tries to pull away, but it keeps on sliding, preventing me from being able to build up speed. Not only that, but W12 reaches overtaking distance as well. And with 1 lap remaining, Halo is just trying to make sure he does not lose time to the people behind him. Heading into the next braking zone, W12 overtook me as I spin out, causing me to lose a ton of time as a result. But I guess me and the 996 spinning allows FancyWreck and Jakubek to catch back up to me. As you can see in the replay camera, they are right behind me now, with FancyWreck now trying to reach overtaking distance on this sharp turn, with Jakubek being right behind the Beeble Bus due to not being able to overtake it back, while W12 is now trying to keep up with Halo, as it looks like the Audi TT uses the main gimmick of the next corner to try to catch up to the Hatsune Miku Porsche, which may have worked a little bit, but not enough to reach overtaking distance of the 991. He tries to close in the gap again heading through this braking zone and into the final corner, but it doesn't look like that worked either, meaning that all the Porsche has to do now is speed off into the finish line to claim the win. And so, Halo manages to do just that, and also makes sure he doesn't spin like me. Either way, congrats to Halo for placing 1st in this race, while W12's Audi TT settles for 2nd place, and it looks like I stay in 3rd place despite spinning out way earlier in the race. FancyWreck gets 4th place, and despite Jakubek nearly being overtaken by the Spectator NSX, he still managed to reach the finish line before it. For the second heat, we have Xolstis, Reagan, Brett Fox, Ferrari, and Interrupting Octopus. We start the race off with what looks like Xolstis falling down to 4th place as Brett Fox, Reagan, and Ferrari manage to instantly overtake him. Heading into the braking zone, it looks like Ferrari is trying to keep up with those two in the front. But heading into this sharp turn, it looks like that is going to be way more difficult than he initially thought. Heading into this speed section, it looks like Brett Fox managed to pull away from Reagan. And given he was unable to overtake him on the sharp turn, Reagan is now trying to make sure Ferrari doesn't close in the gap between him. Although I don't think he has much to worry about given how far behind the C8 is. While Octopus has kinda fallen behind due to having a bad start and having a lot of wheel spin on the snow. And same can be said for Xolstis in the Devil Z, as it looks like both of these cars really hate rally conditions. But while they try not to fall even more behind, Ferrari continues to try to close in the gap between Reagan. And as the C8 is now on the straight, it may or may not be able to catch up to the Impreza. While Brett Fox is successfully building a gap over the said Impreza heading into the second lap. And on the said lap, Ferrari's attempt of trying to catch up to Reagan continues. Although it doesn't really look like he's making much progress. And going into the sharp turn right after the braking zone, he's trying not to lose time to him. While further in the back, it looks like Xolstis really is trying to make sure Octopus does not reach overtaking distance. But things may or may not take a turn on the speed section for him. Going through the uphill and into the drift corner, it looks like Reagan really is succeeding at holding ground over the C8 Corvette. As for Brett Fox, at the moment it doesn't look like he's gaining ground but also not losing ground either. Matter of fact, from what I can tell, it kinda looks like Reagan actually closed in the gap a bit. So did Ferrari, although you cannot really tell at the moment. He once again tries to close in the gap a bit on this corner and he succeeded, somewhat. But even if he didn't, it's okay given he has reached the straight where he can do that anyway. While he tries to catch up to the Impreza, Reagan realizes that he is now no longer able to keep up with Brett Fox. He's just way too far ahead of him by the time he made it to the final lap. Meanwhile in the back, things don't seem to be going well for Xolstis either, as not only the MX-5 is slowly catching up to his Devil Z, but his goal of trying not to get left behind also wasn't successful. Regardless, he's not gonna give up at trying to hold ground over Octo. In the meantime, Ferrari continues trying to catch up to Reagan, and as he builds up more speed going through the uphill and into the drift corner, Reagan continues making his job of that a living nightmare. But Ferrari tries using the main gimmick of the drift corner to try to catch up to the Impreza in question. And Brett Fox is still in the lead as his gap over everyone did not grow or shrink. And going through this braking zone one last time, it looks like Ferrari actually succeeded at catching up to the Impreza here. Also reaching overtaking distance on the turn and heading into the straight. However, due to the C8 sliding here more than the Impreza, he unfortunately did not succeed in taking second place. Meaning that Brett Fox gets 5 points heading into the finish line, while Reagan gets 4, Ferrari gets 3, while in the back of the grid, it looks like the Devil Z really succeeded at holding ground over the MX-5. Meaning that Xolstis heading into the finish line successfully earns 2 points, while Interrupting Octopus has to settle for 1. Now, unfortunately, the other 10 contestants kinda had to sit this one out. And because of that, they get a sympathy point for not being able to partake in this race. But either way, with the 4th race over, this is the updated leaderboard. But now it's time to move on to the 5th race, which is held at Broadbean Raceway. So, for the first heat of the said race, we have me, Archaeadly, Xolstis, Interrupting Octopus, and Virgil. And we are off, with what looks like me and Archaeadly already trying to pull away. And heading through the first corner, it looks like we succeeded in that somewhat. But not for long, as it looks like Xolstis and Virgil easily caught back up to us. Not only that, but my 996 loses the lead as well due to the RGT, Devil Z, and LFA overtaking me. Interrupting Octopus, however, is still struggling to overtake me. And they speed off, as it looks like Xolstis is now being chased down by Virgil, with Archaeadly in first, trying to make sure he does not lose the set position to either of them. And to some extent, it's working. The Devil Z is yet to catch up to Archaeadly. So far, it looks like these three are really on par with each other. But unfortunately for Xolstis, that doesn't last very long, as Archaeadly gaps him and Virgil is slowly catching up, with him now trying to make sure Virgil doesn't overtake him. And going on to this braking zone, it looks like the gap between the two of them shrinks even more, to the point of Virgil nearly even reaching overtaking distance of the Devil Z, while Archaeadly is just trying to make sure he does not make any last-minute mistakes. And heading through the final corner of the track, it looks like he succeeded in doing so, meaning that our finishing order seems to be set in stone. Archaeadly earns 5 points, while Xolstis earns 4, Virgil earns 3, Interrupting Octopus gets 2, while I once again lose to the Spectator NSX, therefore I get 0. For the second heat, we have Jakubek, A-Lord GT, Pin, Mojave Queen, and Ferrari. Starting off strong with Pin and Jakubek already trying to zoom off. However, neither of their zooming off attempts work, or at least they didn't work as flawlessly as they hoped for, which seems to be very apparent for Jakubek's Beetle, as he gets overtaken by Pin and A-Lord due to going wide, with Ferrari also reaching overtaking distance and successfully overtaking him. And as if things couldn't get worse for him, he goes wide again, allowing Mojave Queen to also overtake him, which also means that he is already last. Wow, that was quick. But either way, right after that, Mojave Queen easily catches up to A-Lord, who's been overtaken by Ferrari, who himself is now trying to take the lead from Pin and succeeds in doing so. And as he heads through the final banked corner, Pin is now trying to make sure nobody else overtakes him. Although I highly doubt that is gonna happen, given Mojave Queen is being held off by A-Lord. As you can see, her 512 BB really is struggling to overtake him. In the meantime, Ferrari has already managed to pull away from the Hippie. It also looks like the Grady Fuguzette managed to sort of pull away from Mojave Queen on that last corner. She continues trying to overtake, but she just can't. And unfortunately for her, it doesn't look like anything is gonna change on the last corner, which means that Ferrari GT Sport places first, Pin is second, A-Lord GT is third, Mojave Queen is fourth, and Jakubek is in dead last. For the third heat, we have Fancy Wreck, Tom the Cat, W12, Halo, and Reagan. Off the start line we go, as it looks like Tom the Cat uses his superior acceleration to overtake Fancy Wreck, already claiming first, while the Beeble Bus also gets overtaken by Halo, who is now off to catch up to the Tesla. As for Fancy Wreck, he's just trying to make sure W12 and Reagan don't overtake him too. And we now head into this sort of banked corner where W12 reaches overtaking distance of the Beeble bus, and nearly finds an overtaking opportunity on him as well. Heading into the braking zone, it looks like both W12 and Reagan were close to overtaking the Beeble bus, but nope, they're still behind it. While that is happening, Halo sort of closes in the gap between the Tesla. However, the Hatsune Miku Porsche goes wide a little bit, allowing the Tesla's gap to grow back a bit. And also means that Tom the Cat will stay in first for a bit longer. Although Halo going wide didn't really matter much as he instantly catches back up. And heading through this corner right after braking, Tom the Cat goes wide a little bit, letting Halo pass, allowing him to take the lead as he heads into this section. However, his Porsche goes wide again on this corner, allowing the Tesla to try to take the first place back, but unfortunately it did not succeed in doing so. And just like that, the finishing order has been settled going through the final corner. Halo in first place gets 5 points, Tom the Cat in second gets 4, Fancy Wreck in third place gets 3, Reagan in fourth place gets 2, and W12 in last gets 1. For the fourth heat, we have Marzo, Max Verstappen, Thunderstorm Gaming, Oatmeal Scucolotti on the road again, and Brett Fox. As they both got a great start off the line, Brett Fox and Oatmeal Scucolotti try to overtake the two BMWs and succeed in doing so. And now they're off to catch up to Marzo, who's currently in the lead. While doing so, they go over this banked corner, on which Thunderstorm Gaming successfully catches back up to Oatmeal Scucolotti. And now going over this other banked corner, he tries to overtake the GT40. The M3 slowly gains time on the inside of the corner as it looks like the overtake is anything but a fail. The M3 GTR claimed back the podium from Oatmeal Scucolotti and managed to overtake back Brett Fox as well. Now the only thing standing between him and first place is Marzo. But that doesn't seem to be a problem for Thunderstorm Gaming as he catches up to the E-Type pretty quickly. Heading through this banked corner again, Brett Fox is battling against Oatmeal Scucolotti while Max Verstappen is, like, literally just trying to keep up with them. And his M2 competition really does seem to be doing well at that. Not only that, but he also manages to overtake Oatmeal Scucolotti on this corner. And Brett Fox managed to sort of pull away from both of them. In the meantime, Thunderstorm Gaming tried overtaking Marzo, but unfortunately it did not end up working out from what I can tell. And so, as they are now nearing the finish line, it looks like Marzo gets first place, while Thunderstorm Gaming has to settle for second, Brett Fox is third, Max Verstappen is fourth, and Oatmeal Scucolotti's last. And after the fifth race is done, this is what the updated points leaderboard looks like. But now on to the sixth and final race, which is held at the Daytona Tri-Oval. So, for the first heat of the said race, we have A-Lord GT, Pin, Mojave Queen, Oatmeal Scucolotti on the road again, and Virgil. And we head off the start line as it looks like Mojave Queen tried to overtake A-Lord but did not succeed in doing so. On the opposite end, Oatmeal Scucolotti managed to overtake the Greddy and take second place, with him now off to catch up to the Hippie and possibly overtake it too. While further back, it looks like Mojave Queen managed to build a lead over Virgil. And she also seems to be catching up to A-Lord the same way Oatmeal Scucolotti caught up to Pin. And it looks like she is successfully catching up to him, just not as quickly as the GT40. Speaking of which, the GT40 manages to overtake the Hippie. And Mojave Queen, as she manages to overtake A-Lord for a moment, also catches up to Pin. However, she is unable to overtake due to the hippie holding her off. And that fact alone allows A-Lord GT to overtake her back. Same can be said for Virgil, who's been in last place this whole time. He climbed up to third and is now trying to take second from A-Lord, while Mojave Queen has successfully overtaken Pin, with the 512 BB now being off to gain back the time she lost. In the meantime, Virgil managed to overtake A-Lord no problem, and Oatmeal Scucolati is in first by a long shot. And now that Virgil is past A-Lord, he is now trying to make sure he doesn't get overtaken by Mojave Queen too. But will it be enough by the time he makes it to the finish line? I guess we'll find out. But before that, Oatmeal Scucolati on the road again ends off this round with a win, with Virgil in second, A-Lord GT indeed placing third over Mojave Queen, who has to settle for fourth, while Pin is in fifth place. For the second heat, we have me, Arcade League, Zolstis, Brett Fox, and Ferrari. We begin the race with Brett Fox overtaking Zolstis on the start line, while I am pretty much holding off everyone who's right behind me, but unfortunately that doesn't last very long, as everybody overtakes me, causing me to fall down to last place. Heading into this banked corner, it looks like Ferrari is now off to catch up to the Devil Z, who is trying to overtake Brett Fox back, but unfortunately can't, as both of them are being held off by Arcade League, unintentionally creating a train as a result. Although the said train doesn't last very long, as Brett Fox manages to overtake the RGT, and so does Zolstis and Ferrari. It also looks like Ferrari overtakes the Devil Z on the inside of the banked corner. And to prevent the same thing from happening to the Focus RS, Brett Fox is holding off the C8. However, the second they make it past the banked corner, Ferrari instantly finds an overtaking opportunity on him. And Ferrari takes that said overtaking opportunity without hesitation, claiming first place, while Brett Fox now has to deal with trying not to lose second place to the Devil Z, as Zolstis does an overtaking attempt on the inside of the banked corner, but Brett Fox refuses to lose the second place like that. And their tense battle continues heading onto the long straight, which is where Ferrari somewhat managed to build a gap over them. What also happened on the said straight is the Focus RS overtook Zolstis back, and he continues to make sure he doesn't get overtaken by Zolstis, as this tense battle between the two continues heading into the finish line. And speaking of the finish line, Ferrari gets 5 points as he manages to cross it first, with Brett Fox narrowly getting 4 points over Zolstis, who earned 3, Arcade League getting 2 points, and me getting 0, as the Spectator NSX beats me by a landslide. For the third heat, we have Fancy Wreck, W12, Thunderstorm Gaming, Reagan, and Interrupting Octopus. Right away, W12 and Reagan managed to overtake Fancy Wreck, as they're not letting him hold them off again. Interrupting Octopus and Thunderstorm Gaming, however, are yet to overtake the Beeble Bus, while W12 and Reagan use the little time that they have to try to pull away from them. However, things don't go in their favor, as Interrupting Octopus overtakes the Beeble Bus through the inside and Thunderstorm Gaming overtakes him on the outside. Now that they are past Fancy Wreck, they instantly reach Reagan's overtaking distance, as both the M3 and the MX-5 gladly take their overtaking opportunities. Not only that, but heading through the inside of the banked corner, they also overtake W12 right after, allowing them to claim the top 2 spots just like that. Now that they made it out of the banked corner, Octopus is being held off by the M3 GTR and Reagan managed to overtake the Audi TT. Onto the second lap we go, as it looks like Thunderstorm Gaming is successfully holding off Octopus. But that statement instantly becomes irrelevant as Octopus finds an overtaking opportunity on the M3 GTR. It's neck and neck between the two of them on the banked corner, and despite interrupting Octopus overtaking Thunderstorm Gaming, he still manages to stay in overtaking distance on the long straight. As you can see, he is not letting himself get gapped by the MX-5. Octopus, however, is not letting him take the first place back. Meanwhile, further back, it looks like Reagan managed to build a decent gap over W12. And now that we made it through the banked corner, it looks like our finishing order is set in stone. Interrupting Octopus takes the first place, while Thunderstorm Gaming is second. Reagan rounds out the podium with W12 in 4th place. And although it took him a bit longer to cross the finish line, Fancy Wreck is in 5th. For the 4th heat, we have Jakubek, Tom the Cat, Max Verstappen, Martso, and Halo. Anyways, we're off, as it looks like Tom the Cat overtakes Jakubek right away. And now tried to pull away from him, but it looks like Jakubek has other plans. He builds up more speed and manages to successfully overtake the Tesla back. And I guess now he needs to deal with not getting overtaken by everybody else. Both Martso and Halo instantly catch up to the Tesla and are now trying to overtake it but can't because it keeps holding them off, resulting in another train. But the difference is that this train doesn't break as quickly as the previous one did. Regardless, Martso makes it past the Tesla and so does Max Verstappen and Halo. Although it doesn't matter much as Halo faces yet another problem of being held off, this time by Max Verstappen. And that fact alone allows Martso to pull away from both of them and maybe even somewhat catch up to Jakubek, who knows. Luckily for Halo, he manages to find an overtaking opportunity pretty quickly, with the Hatsune Miku Porsche now catching up to Martso and trying to take the second place away from him. He continues building up speed heading into the banked corner. However, as he comes to find out, the E-Type's top speed is actually on par with the Porsche's top speed. Still, he's not giving up on catching up to Martso. In the meantime, it looks like Jakubek's gap over everyone seems to be shrinking as the Beetle's top speed is not the best. We head into the other banked corner as Halo continues trying to catch up to Martso but not really succeeding in that. While Martso himself seems to be getting really close to Jakubek's Beetle. The E-Type is getting really close to Jakubek, but that's not enough to take the first place from him. Jakubek gets 5 points, Martso gets 4, Halo gets 3, Max Verstappen gets 2. And if you're asking yourself, is Tom the Cat's Tesla gonna get 0 points in this race? Well, the answer to that question is no, as Tom the Cat reaches the finish line before the Spectator NSX. And these are the final points standings. And being honest, things really did turn out to be way more interesting than I originally thought they would be. But just like every other points round in this tournament, there just has to be a tie for the elimination spots. So I guess we have to settle this in a classic tiebreaker race. Your tiebreaker is a one-lap sprint around Watkins Glen. Last two to the finish line are eliminated. And just like that, we end off this tiebreaker with Tom the Cat, Jakubek, and Max Verstappen advancing, while A-Lord GT's and Pin's time in this tournament has officially come to an end. And that's about it for round 5. With that, we are now down to our final 16 contestants in the tournament. Anyways, if you enjoyed, which I know you did, like the video, and maybe even consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in round 6.